Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It's your man Jay, and it's time to give you my replacement device for my Google Fi line. Now, Google Fi is selling this phone for $200 if you have Google Fi, which I do. So get a discount. It's normally $250, I believe. This is obviously the unlocked model, because are there any locked models? But we're going to crack this open, and then I'm going to show you what's in the box, give you a little bit of a walkthrough, and we'll chat a little bit. So this is how it's going to come to you. I've learned to check the top of boxes nowadays. Nice present. Oh, this is a lot smaller than I thought it was going to be. This is a 6.4-inch display, folks. So in the box, you get charging cable, you get a power brick, and I would attempt to try to see what this wattage on here is. My glasses just won't allow it. I believe it's 10 watts though. But what else is in here? Oh, just some manuals. So no case or anything. Yeah, no case, no nothing. Just the basics. So if you have Google Fi, you already. I'm glad they made it easy to get this off, because this is normally a headache to get off. If you have Google Fi, you're just gonna put your SIM card in here and keep it moving. I like this little glowing effect on there. So here it is, man. This is the fingerprint reader in the back here. You've got 3 cameras, an LED. The MotoGPower actually has 4 cameras, and the LED is over here because I got sent a case, and the case is for the MotoGPower, G8 power, not the MotoGPower. So this is a great size. It looks really cool, man. I mean, I thought it would be bigger for some reason because it's a 6.4-inch display. And it has a little bit of chin at the bottom, but that's fine. This looks pretty good. So looks like SIM tray is on the left side of the device, power and volume. You've got a ridged power button, which I really like. Headphone jack is on the bottom, Type-C, speaker up down there, microphone, and then a speaker up here, because this has stereo speakers. This phone actually has 3 microphones. There's 1, 2, and I don't know where the other one is at, but we'll get it set up. So right off the rip, just looking at the hardware, again, this is replacing my Moto G7. My Moto G7, I actually bought the Motorola, the Moto Action or whatever, and I was going to keep that phone for a little bit, but after I used it for a while, the Moto G7, I was just so used to it, I guess. I don't know, so I stayed with the Moto G7, and then I knew I would replace the G7 with this because my Moto G7 has a cracked back. Now, as I was going to say right off the rip, I don't like this black body because obviously it gives you so much fingerprints, but this is just a phone that I'm going to be using for to replace my Google Fi line, which I get a lot of phone calls and texts. So this will be a good start. I'll bring the G7 in just a little bit. It was dead, so I didn't get a chance to charge it, but let me get this set up and I will be right back and we'll get into this software here. All right, guys, so here it is, the MotoGPower. Now, this phone right here replaces my G7, which has been a great phone. I mean, it still works. I just powered it off, transferred the service over from this phone to this phone. So, but the G7 has been great, man, and the design has definitely changed. I broke this phone. I dropped it about a month after having it, and I've had it for a year. So I purchased this phone a year ago in March, and I purchased this phone just about a week ago. So I got this again. If I didn't say, I'm sure I said it, but I got this on Google Fi for $199, and I think that is a fantastic deal. If you don't have Google Fi, I think I've got my links down there where you can get a credit. I don't get any credits anymore because they tapped me out. I did so many referrals. They said no more credits, but you can still take advantage of my link. I believe that's down there for Google Fi. I think it's down there, but nonetheless, this is the device now. It is set up. I've been using it for maybe an hour or so, waiting because it was doing a restore. So I've got it all set up. Now, this phone is a powerhouse, to say the least. It is just, I pulled it up here. This is the MotoGPower from Motorola. I just went to Phone Scoop. 6.4-inch 1080p display. I mean, that is good in its own. 2 gigahertz Qualcomm Snapdragon 665, 4 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of storage, and you can expand that with a I believe up to a 2 terabyte SD card, 16 megapixel, 8 megapixel. You shoot 4K video. Then you've got a macro lens as well. That's really nice. It's got 3 cameras set up right there. That's going to be really nice, man. F1.7 aperture, so that's going to be really sweet. The extra cameras are 8 and a 2, like I said. So you got an ultra wide and then you got a macro lens. The macro lens is, you use it sometimes, but there's a 16 megapixel on the front as well, so that's pretty impressive. When you go into the camera, and it talks about quad pixel, and it's telling you to leave it at a certain resolution, and I'll show you that in just a second. But overall, you got a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, stereo speakers. I mean, remember I said I got this for $200. Type C, 3 microphones for that good recording. 512 gigs is what you can go up to for the SD card. You've got it's tuned by, the stereos are tuned by Dolby, it says. 10-watt charger included. So this is a pretty impressive. Again, I turned on dark mode, so I just like it like this. But it's on the February security patch, and it's got Android 10. Unlike my G7 is on Android 9 with the February security patch. This one is still getting updates, by the way. It may not be coming in right away. Updates don't really mean anything to me, but you guys always talk about updates, and I wanted to make sure I bring that up. Now, I was talking about the camera. So when I go into the camera here, and I go over the settings, go over the settings up here, it talks about quad pixel. So it's recommended that you leave it at the 4 megapixel to get the 16 megapixel type photo. And that's just some enhancements that they're doing with their cameras, or you can just set it directly to the 16 megapixel photo. Now, one thing I've been playing with the cameras, and one thing I like about the cameras, you can shoot 19:9 4K, and you can just do regular 4K. So I think that's pretty cool. So I set the front and the rear at 19:9. The front goes to 1080p, but I did set it at 19:9, 120 frames per second slow motion. I never test that, but it's just something that's out there that you could possibly use if you want to. So other than that, you've got the basics, for a camera. You've got all the gestures and everything for the camera. This is going to be really, really sweet, man. I've only taken one photo, and that was of the box. So everything is fairly fast in here. The phone is still kind of settling in because it was doing a restore, and it just stopped, and then I started hitting record. But it feels fast enough, man. I mean, this phone feels really good. Now, the stereo speakers, I did play them. Whoo, boy, they sound amazing. Let's go here. And let's crank these. I believe I got them all set up right. Let's see here. Let's get my channel. Come on. I'm far away from my router. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, and the screen itself, I think is beautiful. So that's a really dark video, but I want to really just test the speakers in that one. And I think, wow, man, I mean, they did a fantastic job with producing this device. This retails for $250, folks. 5,000 milliamp hour battery, headphone jack at the bottom here, Type C, stereo speakers, 6.4-inch display, budget phones. And some people say, budget phones. This is what America buys. And the only reason a person would buy the more expensive devices is because they're probably going to finance it. But that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with that. Check out my other video on smartphone purchases. But in the end, I would definitely recommend that you start looking at phones of this caliber. This phone is hot, folks. This is a really nice phone. Now, what don't I like about it right off the rip is just the color black. I don't like the black color because look how dirty it looks and fingerprints and stuff and smudges. But it has a really nice pattern back there, believe it or not. So the fingerprint reader works fairly decently. It's really good. It's in the Motorola logo. So I turn it off. I hit the button. Fingerprint. It comes on. Oh, I shook it. I did the old twisteroo, and so you get the camera. It's got all the gestures it should have. Yeah, there you go. But ultimately, the fingerprint reader is fast enough for the average consumer. I'm trying to stop using that terminology because you can see how fast this fingerprint reader is. By the time I hit it and turn it over, it's turning on. So that's important. But you get this beautiful 6.4-inch display. I mean, when you think about it, it's full HD 1080p. And when you think about some of the other phones we have that cost 4 times the cost of this and they still have just a 1080p display, it often makes you wonder, why did I purchase that device? Is it going to do the same thing? Now, this is definitely a direct competitor for the Google Pixel 3a line. It is priced right in there, but it's priced lower. And the processors are not the 670s, but it's the 665. But the real kicker is, will I see that much difference? So with that being said, you will determine whether or not you think this is going to be a hit or not. Again, people often ask, well, is it worth it? Well, this device, I can tell you right out the rip, as long as it doesn't have any issues, because my G7 had no issues. The only issue was that I dropped it. But it still worked after that. So as long as it doesn't have any software issues or anything like that, remember my G8 is a year old and it's still getting software updates, and this one has caught up to this G7 and pretty much passed it because it has Android 10. With the February security patch, I'm sure it will get a security patch update. This just came out. I'm not really worried about that. I'm not worried about security patch updates, but you guys often think of that. You guys always ask that, so I'm not too worried about it. But I do want to say this device is really sweet. This big battery inside with a 1080p display. I want to know, because right now the king of batteries in this house is this phone. It is the V60. This is the king of battery, and it also has the more powerful processor in there, but not that that matters. But this has a 5,000 milliamp hour battery inside too, and this is the king of battery life in my house at the current moment. My S20 Plus, it gets a good battery life too. While it's not as good as the V60, it is still very good. So enough of all that. We are going to get out of here, man. I really hope you guys enjoyed the unboxing and first impressions of the MotoGPower. Folks, this is a must buy. If you're a person, and I messed up, and let's say this before I get out of here. I messed up and I looked at some of the media's thoughts on this device, and I'm just blown away. But everybody gets their opinion. So I'm going to go ahead and review this device myself, and I will give you more than obviously just this unboxing. And we'll see how this pans out. If this is not a good phone, I will let you know if I'm going to keep it or, return it. I don't do returns, so I would probably just sell it or something like that. But I'm thinking that this is probably going to be a fantastic phone. I don't foresee Motorola dropping anything in my lap, especially at this price range. They're competing. They're giving me all the options of my high-end, quote-unquote, high-end devices. And, another thing before I get out of here, how's the LG put a 5,000 milliamp hour battery with a headphone jack, and other OEMs said that they can't do that? And now here you have Motorola, 5,000 milliamp hour battery inside, headphone jack. If we really look at our lives for what they are, how we use our phones, this phone could be more than enough. And again, this is a direct competitor with the Pixel 3a line. Even though I think the camera's probably going to still be king on the 3A line, the 3A line costs about $100 to $200 more. So you'll be the determining factor whether or not you think you should buy a Pixel 3a or get the MotoGPower. This is just one of several devices that I've made a purchase on. So this is going to start the review phase because I always have this is my Google Fi line. Really excited to finally get this phone in. This was like the longest week of my life, man. I was like, wow, come on. I mean, I didn't pay for any kind of express shipping or anything. And normally when I do that, I get it in 2 days or so. They shipped it really fast. They shipped it the same day I purchased it, but it took like 5 days to get here. And I was like, oh my gosh, man. It went to New Mexico. I was like, what is going on? Nonetheless, it is here. And today is April 27th. Yeah, I think today is April 27th. And I guess I can see it on my phone here. April 25th. I'm sorry. Today is April 25th. And I'm excited. And you should be excited too. This is going to be great. We'll see how this pans out. Motorola has not let me down, and I don't think they will this time. It's your man Jay. Hope you guys enjoyed. First impressions unboxing of the new MotoGPower.